Hey everybody, I am Sarah. Welcome back to Cassette Cult, BangerTV's show about underground heavy metal and the formats that it is released on. It has been a few years, and right now I am back in Toronto to see some loved ones and to return to the Banger studio, as you can see, which I haven't recorded in for several years because I moved to Helsinki, Finland 2 years ago. These past few years have been pretty wild, but 2023 has really been has taken the cake, we'll put it that way. My band Smolder, we're an epic heavy metal band. We released our second studio album, which is called Violent Creative Vengeance, back in April via Cruz del Sur. We embarked on our first European tour, and we played a ton of festivals, and now we are currently booking gigs across Europe, the United States, and Japan. Our next two gigs are Steel Held High Festival on February 24th in Germany, alongside Ostrogoth, and the Hell Over Hammerberg warm-up party on February 29th that we are headlining, which leads into the killer Hell Over Hammerberg Festival, which is going to be featuring Eternal Champion, Summerlands, and many more. In addition to all of that, I also guested as Satan herself on Bergfried's Romantic 2 this year, which you can check out on Bandcamp. So links to my own album and the album that I guested on are in the video description. Okay, so as you might remember, the last episode of Cassette Cult was my Best of 2020 episode, and we're going to reinvigorate the show with my Best of 2023. And you've likely actually seen me on the Banger channel a lot as of late, reviewing albums by bands like Vastum, Panopticon, Sirathungal, Witch Hazel, and Greenlung. And make no mistake, 2023 has seen an utter embarrassment of riches when it comes to strong heavy metal albums. That said, only one of the albums that I have reviewed this year will make my Best of 2023 list. Which band is it? Let's dive in. Okay, Cassette Cult, it's here. I want to first outline how this video is going to go because I went a little overboard for this episode. I wrote a full fanzine and illustrated it. Let me just grab a copy. There's a whole box of them. So I went a full fanzine overboard for this episode of Cassette Cult. Basically, I've been falling hard back into writing in the last few months, and I've always wanted to do my own zine. So all the bands that I'm featuring today, I did really in-depth interviews with, as I take quite seriously the themes and the history of heavy metal. So while I won't have the physical editions of the albums that I am featuring today with me, given that I live 6,595 kilometers from Toronto, I will instead have quotes that I pulled from my fanzine that you can read while listening to the music, which you can buy from bit.ly/fanzine. Without further ado, let's talk about the best heavy metal of 2023, shall we? Okay, number 10 on the list of the best heavy metal albums of 2023 is Helms Deep, who released Treacherous Ways on September 5th, 2023 via Nameless Grave Records. Formed by vocalist, guitarist, and songwriter Alex Scoratino, Helms Deep's success is courtesy of multiple elements. First up, we absolutely cannot discount the very adept hiring. The band includes bassist and backing vocalist John Gallagher of new wave of British heavy metal icons Raven, and drummer Mike Heller, who is also of Raven and multiple other bands. The sick Michael Whelan cover on the album also really helps. Ultimately, the music is what's best here, though. You'll be treated to relentless propulsion and an impressive commitment to the short and sweet adage. It's further bolstered by Scoratino's impressive vocal range, which is clearly rooted in US power metal and European power metal, with a hint of John Olivia's early Sabotage shrieking. Musically, expect a combination of Riot, Satan, and Liege Lord, with shredding solos and an unusually propulsive rhythm section that playfully navigates hairpin changes with finesse.
Every battle that's reminding has its lost survives when your enemy is stalking. You know it's fire light, fire flies,
I am very fond of this album, and I think a big reason why I'm so fond of it is because Alex is far less invested in being a new wave of traditional heavy metal movement band riding a popularity wave of a movement, and far more interested in writing good music that happens to coincide with that movement. I think my favorite quote from the interview that I did with him was when he told me that I'll listen to 100 new wave of traditional heavy metal bands and the production just sounds too modern to me, but it's a matter of taste, obviously. I'm a complete music snob and mostly only like my 80s caviar. I'd say to me the movement was dead before it started. Edgy. Anyways, Treacherous Ways is awesome, as you just heard. Number 9 on my list of the best heavy metal albums of 2023 is Orfus Flame. The one-man Greek black metal band is masterminded by Chris Ian, aka Ulos, mastermind of Orfus Flame, Spectral Lore, Mistras, Fortress of the Pearl, which are all within the realms of black metal, Clarent Blade, which is an epic heavy metal band, and A Compendium of Curiosities, which is an atmospheric synth band. Orfus Flame released the album Ardor for Black Mastery on October 6, 2023, and is steeped in an ancient and ugly lineage of Greek and Norwegian-style black metal, while simultaneously interlaced with cinematic and experimental soundscapes. I really love this album. It's better heard in its entirety rather than a snippet, given how dynamic it is. But with that, we're gonna go to album number 8. Number 8 on my list of the best albums of 2023 is the album by Wield and Woe. Medieval, castle, serfdom, peasant revolt, magic, sorcerer-infused black metal hardly rolls off the tongue, but it's a theme running throughout their second album called For the Good of the Realm, released on September 1st, 2023 by the excellent Fidach Productions, all the same. Formed in Boise, Idaho, United States in 2018, the band is helmed by guitarist and vocalist Artos, aka Jeff Young, who you'll see elsewhere in this video courtesy of his other project, which is called By Fire and Sword. Sonically, expect rich melodic black metal in the burgeoning tradition of Obsequiae, Summoning, and Caladan Road. Now, I have to say this again because I really hate pulling snippets out of these fantastic records because all of them deserve a full album listen. So, on that note, if you like anything in this video, please buy it directly from the band. All links to their Bandcamp pages are in the video description. Another reminder, all these interview quotes are from interviews that I did with the bands myself. So if you want to pick up a copy of my fanzine, head to bit.ly/fanzine. All right, enough selling. Let's talk about another band. Number 7 on my list of the best heavy metal albums of 2023 is the debut full-length by French traditional heavy metalers Mutazione? That's a rough one. Although they experienced something very difficult when they lost their vocalist after the release of their explosive self-titled EP, they thankfully bounced back extremely quickly and recruited vocalist Fiona, who joined the band to both write the lyrics for and perform on their debut full-length, which is August 25th, 2023's Rendezvous, released by Gates of Hell Records. The album immediately demonstrated that the early success was no fluke, delivering an energetic punch of classic heavy metal that emulates Tank, Chevalier, Iron Maiden, and ADX. Pretty good, right? Again delivered in their native tongue of French, Rendezvous is enthralling, and it demonstrates a band that is building on an already rock-solid foundation. This album is quite interesting because at first I felt like it wasn't as strong as the EP, but the more and more I listen to it, the more that I like it. It is a grower, not a shower, and it's been creeping further up my list as the year goes by. Now, for number 6 on my list of the best albums of 2023 is the debut full-length by Greek metal band Triumpher, who self-released Storming the Walls on March 8th, 2023 before promptly absolutely exploding. A record deal with No Remorse Records and a slot on Up the Hammers Festival immediately followed in its wake. Featuring a deeply infused romanticism of heroic Greek Hellenism, which is most easily described as Greek paganism, the album spans 60 minutes, flitting effortlessly between Manowar, Celtic Frost, and Verathron. It's so fluid in its genre bending that it reminds me of albums by Demon Bitch and Locust Leaves. Doesn't sound like those bands, but it's got that effortless changing. This album, as you can hear, it's bloody fun and it's massive sounding. And I played a chorus here instead of some of the more genre-bending parts because it's quite anthemic. Trust me though, there are so many more incredible quotes that Mars gave me in the interview that aren't about dragon riding with Jenna Jameson, a porn star. Okay, so I promised you that exactly one band that I reviewed this year would hit my best of the year list. And that band that is hitting it, Vastum. I did a full review on their new release that you should watch when this video ends, but I also think that you should listen to the new album by Vastum because their new record, which is called Inwards the Guest the Main, it was released on November 10th, 2023 via 20 Spin. It's their best record since 2013's Patricidal Lust, and that's a big deal. I actually think that Patricidal Lust is one of my favorite death metal albums of all time. I interviewed both guitarist and vocalist Leela Abdul Rauf and vocalist Dan Butler for my fanzine on this one, and they said so many fascinating things, and I just think that they're both such interesting intellectual people. Anyways, death metal, here it is. Ugh, you really have to love a death metal solo that makes you dance and mosh. Leela rules. Legitimately, that interview was one of my favorite for the entire fanzine, but I digress. Let's go on to album number 4 because there's too many good albums to highlight and not enough time, and I'm trying to give you a highlight reel here. Okay, number 4 on my list of the best albums of 2023 is by international red and anarchist black metal outfit Trespasser. On February 3rd, 2023, they released an album whose name when translated to English is Apocalypse, but here's the spelling and the language that they used. Anyways, moving beyond the Iskra worship of their uneven debut, the international coalition fully has developed into a walloping, varied amalgam of black metal crust and death metal on this record that is ideologically dense and absolutely crammed with killer riffs and huge choruses. Sonically emulating At the Gates, Martyrdod, Dawn Raid, Ashenspire, and Aharuza, Trespasser has become a fully realized entity. Many months after the release of this record, the album continues to be spun at least weekly in my household. And when the chorus of the song Holocaustos, or the justification and affirmation of hierarchical order by the symbolism of immolations, yes, that is a mouthful, kicks in, and I start scream chanting it, heavy stone upon heavy stone. Ugh. And I basically start singing it until the song reaches its apex, so you should hear that now. Have to put in a side note. The interview that I did with XVI, who is the multi-instrumentalist of the band, has to be my favorite interview that I have done of all time. I learned a lot about anarchist history and about how the band recorded with Fredrik Nordstrom, who is known for developing and refining the Gothenburg sound. Of course, you know who that is. There is nothing more than I love than a band who adeptly ties their theme into their sound and has a full package. And in my opinion, every single band that I am highlighting today has done exactly that, and in dramatically different ways. And that's how you make a masterpiece. That's how you make a piece of art. And with that, we're gonna go to my top 3 albums of 2023. Coming in at number 3 on my top albums of 2023 is the debut full-length by Marth, who you may remember from Cassette Cult. Springing from the fertile Italian punk scene, Marth is a one-woman Valkyrian metal band in the vein of Viking-era Bathory and Skit System merged with Susie and the Banshees. Fresh, primitive, and howling, the project is spearheaded by Marziona Silvani, who is an avid hiking enthusiast who doubles in post-punk act horror vacui. Despite this being her first project in the metal realms, Marth was signed by Southern Lord Records, who released her debut, Further in Evil, on October 20th, 2023. The record is a revelation, misanthropic, cinematic, raw, and crushing. Topped off with a deeply personal cover of Sin in My Heart, an iconic track from Susie and the Banshees' album Juju, which was released in 1981. If you don't know Susie and the Banshees, buckle up, kiddo, they're amazing. Further in Evil demonstrates a deep, everlasting love of punk, goth, and heavy metal in all its DIY glory. I'm not gonna lie, Victimize is my favorite song of the past several years. I've listened to it probably about 1,000 times. I am so proud of where Marth has gone and how quickly. But yeah, I'm getting flustered a little bit talking about all this music that rules, because this episode and this fanzine that I mean have been a massive labor and love, and I've been really wanting to do something like this for a long time. So yeah, let's go to number 2. My second favorite album of 2023 is by American band By Fire and Sword. Musically, it's as if Blue Oyster Cult, Iron Maiden, and Opus Eponymous era Ghost had an unholy 3-way demon spawn. The songwriting is extremely melodic with clear flat vocals that are delivered by a charismatic preacher. While their 2019 debut EP, Freedom Will Flood All Things with Light, demonstrated a band who would clearly flourish in the future, they took a giant step forward with the release of September 22nd, 2023's Glory, which was released by No Remorse Records. The album is an extremely adept criticism of evangelical televangelist style Christianity, which, let's, be honest, is taking over the cultural landscape of the United States to disastrous impact. You can judge the music here for yourself. I do not think that it's coincidental that my top 2 albums of this year are both deeply, deeply critical of Christianity, but from 2 very different musical perspectives. With that, here's my favorite album of 2023, which comes courtesy of Finnish Doom outfit Mansion. Okay, before we jump into this clip, I have to preface this. I'm really interested in cult history, and I've read several books about cult history and watched a lot of documentaries. Mansion is super intriguing to me because not only are they musically kick-ass, but the entire band is based on the Finnish Christian cult of Cartanoism. They only do interviews in character as members of the Cartanoism cult, so rather than interview them for my fanzine, I decided to actually write an essay on Cartanoism and put it in my fanzine because English language information on that cult is next to impossible to find. Anyway, let's get back to Mansion, whose disturbing solemn songs evoke the Black, Jexthoth, Black Hole, and Sabbath Assembly. The band deeply commits to their theme as vocalist Alma preaches hellfire with her Mansionites clad in black robes. With their second studio album, Second Death, which was self-released on January 13th, 2023, the band has released a masterpiece. Hypnotic and dark, the band utilizes ample dictatorial chanting amidst richly layered crashing instrumentation. Musically slow and deliberate, and firmly entrenched in the Italian occult doom lineage that emphasizes agonizing slow tension over musical busyness, Mansion specializes in cinematic landscapes that drag listeners directly into the hell of belonging to the cult of Cartanoism. As a result, Second Death is the strongest and by far the most disturbing metal album of 2023. It is also the album that I had the hardest time pulling a snippet from, as this is expansive killer music. Okay, so those were my favorite albums of 2023. Lots of genres were covered, lots of information. I understand that. If you dig any of these bands, please head to the links in the video description and buy directly from them on Bandcamp. Before we leave though, I'm gonna also do shoutouts. Because who can say 10 best albums? You can say 15. The other albums that I love this year, and I would have also included in an even longer video if I had more time, include The Old Ways Remain by Canadian proto-doom outfit Blood Ceremony, the Titan Sun demo by Canadian epic metalers Tales of Medusa, Untergang, which is the final album by Dutch blackened doom outfit Eurofaust, the fifth studio album by Slovakian blackened traditional metalers Malokarpatan, which is called Vertuminous Caesar, and last but certainly not least, the second studio album by one-man Chilean traditional heavy metal outfit Vortiz, which is called Desde Bajo Tierra. All 5 of those records are absolutely killer stuff. Okay, that's it. That's all. Huva Yolua. Hey.